If the NFL were to take a geography test, it would no doubt fail. Let me explain why. Check out their Eastern and Western conferences back in 1961. Baltimore, Maryland is out west? Are they trolling us? And how did St. Louis, Missouri and Dallas, Texas end up in the East? And this is just the first of the 11 weirdest geographic NFL divisional/conference alignments. Baltimore on the West Coast? Get the hell out of here with that. And actually, for number 2 on this list, in the next realignment, they would stay there. In 1967, the NFL split up into 4 divisions, 2 in the Eastern Conference and 2 in the Western, with one of those being the Coastal, which featured my San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams. Yeah, that makes sense. But they were joined by the Baltimore Colts and the Atlanta Falcons. Well, I guess they weren't specific as to which coast, but then again, they're in the Western Conference. That alignment would last for 3 seasons until the NFL-AFL merger in 1970, which brings us to number 3. The Baltimore Colts moved to the new AFC East to join the Bills, Patriots, Jets, and Dolphins. Yeah, they're finally playing in the East. As for their old coastal mates, my Niners and the Rams were still stuck with the Falcons, but then they added the New Orleans Saints and called it the NFC West. We were stuck in this division for 25 years, and then it got worse. At number 4, in 1995, the Rams left Los Angeles and moved to St. Louis, and in the same year, the NFL added 2 expansion teams, the Carolina Panthers and Jacksonville Jaguars, and a decision was made to put the Carolina Panthers into the NFC West. Look at where my Niners were going every year. Is there any wonder why the success on the field dampened during these years? The team was freaking jet-lagged out of their minds. Nowadays, we've got it made in the shade, but it wasn't always that way for Arizona either. At number 5, check out the NFC East for 14 years. Arizona's in the East? And look where they're flying to every year. New York, Philadelphia, Washington, and even being a bird team didn't help with all the flying. They sucked all the time. Even when they were playing in St. Louis, and we touched on this earlier. At number 6, in 1961, they were playing in the old Eastern Conference, despite the fact that they were farther west than 4 of the Western Conference teams. But they were east of Dallas. And for number 7, the Cowboys were actually in the Western Conference for their inaugural season of 1960. But when the expansion Minnesota Vikings were added to the West the following year, the Cowboys bolted for the East, leaving those aforementioned Baltimore Colts behind in the West. You would have thought that would have been the simple switch, but that's the NFL for you when it comes to geography. In fact, for number 8, the Dallas Cowboys are still in the NFC East, and they seem to love it. The largest audiences in the country are in the Northeast, so it's hardly a mystery that plays a part of what catapulted the Cowboys into the league's most valuable franchise. And speaking of the NFL's present-day geographic screw-ups, for number 9, we're talking about that horseshoe again. Just look at the Indianapolis Colts placement in the AFC South these past 18 years. The city of Indianapolis is just over 100 miles northwest of Cincinnati, Ohio, and yet the Cincinnati Bengals play in the AFC North. Instead, Indy's flying all the way down to Houston and Jacksonville every year. But I guess that's just the Colts' legacy, to fly all over the country to play divisional games. But they're not the only ones. For number 10, perhaps the most bizarre divisional alignment in NFL history came in 1976, when they put the expansion Tampa Bay Buccaneers into the AFC West. It was for only 1 season. The next season, they were put into the NFC Central to fly past Atlanta and New Orleans to get to the present-day NFC North teams. And finally, at number 11, we go back to that NFL-AFL merger in 1970. The NFC owners were having a hard time deciding which teams would play in which divisions. They had teams in the Northeast, the Big Ten country, and the far West fighting over the teams in the middle and the Southeast. Nobody wanted to be stuck with the powerhouse Cowboys and Vikings at the time, and everybody wanted the Aints. So they came up with 5 different divisional alignments, none of which made sense geographically. Wrote all 5 combinations on slips of paper, sealed them into envelopes, and literally drew one randomly out of a bowl to come up with this. And I bet the Dallas Cowboys are forever grateful they got picked to play in the East. And my Niners got screwed. Yeah. How hard is it to put San Francisco, LA, Dallas, and St. Louis in the West, Minnesota, Green Bay, Chicago, Detroit, and New Orleans in the Central, and Atlanta, Washington, Philadelphia, and New York in the East? Dallas and Minnesota are in separate divisions, and you got your geography straightened out. Jeez, guys, it's not that hard. Or, I guess it is. Otherwise, my last 2 videos wouldn't exist. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. My name is Dave Show, and I'll see you at the next Dave Show. Later!